Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I rise today to highlight South Florida's wild and wonderful national parks, Biscayne, Dry Tortugas, and the Everglades during National Parks Week and the National Park Service Centennial. American Pulitzer Prize-winning writer and historian Wallace Stegner is quoted as having said that our national parks were, quote, the best idea we've ever had, absolutely American, absolutely democratic. They reflect us at our best rather than our worst, end quote. Indeed, South Florida is supremely fortunate to have Superintendent Pedro Ramos in charge of Dry Tortugas and Everglades National Parks. Superintendent Ramos understands and appreciates the importance of public access, the importance of the public's experiences, and the importance of continuing to reconnect the people of South Florida with the natural lands and waters that surround and support our community. Ultimately, enhancing public access and recreational opportunities in our national parks are vital to conserving America's natural and cultural heritage. That's why I'm so troubled, Mr. Speaker, by the fishing access restrictions included in the 2015 General Management Plan of another iconic South Florida, Biscayne National Park. The plan's marine reserve zone imposes a permanent moratorium on fishing across 10,500 acres of state waters, including 30% of the reef tract, denying fishing access to families and professional fishermen alike without adequate scientific evidence to back it up. My Preserving Public Access to Public Waters Act, which passed the House in February as part of the SHARE Act, and its newly introduced Senate counterpart from Senators Bill Cassidy and Marco Rubio, would help ensure that federal bureaucrats and special interest groups do not overrule local community needs and concerns in this way anymore. If our national parks are to remain absolutely American and absolutely democratic, then it is long since time for the National Park Service to consistently represent the federal government at its best rather than at its worst once again. The Park Service stated mission is to preserve, quote, unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations. By cooperating with partners to extend the benefits of natural and cultural resources conservation and outdoor recreation throughout the country and the world, end quote. Everglades National Park Superintendent Ramos has demonstrated that he is a true ambassador for this lofty and worthy mission. He represents the National Park Service and the national government at its best, open and inclusive, seeking balanced solutions and guided by a sense of service to the American people. Meanwhile, Biscayne's General Management Plan represents some of the worst aspects of the National Park Service and the federal government. It is focused so much on a narrow definition of preservation that it continually and completely fails the National Park Service mission and disregards a whole community of park users. What's worse, with the varied threats facing South Florida's coral reefs, from changing ocean conditions to water quality issues, today fishing is a relatively minor contributor to coral reef decline in Biscayne. The real effect of Biscayne's Marine Reserve Zone plan will be to continue losing coral at a drastic pace, while also undercutting the public support needed to develop and implement real solutions to what ails our reefs. The National Park Service can and should and must do better, and they should look to Superintendent Ramos and his leadership over similar issues at Everglades National Park for inspiration. Everglades National Park's own recently finalized general management plan, lauded by both fishermen and environment, clearly represents what's possible when guided by a true sense of the park's mission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The time of the gentlewoman has